Welcome, lords and ladies, back to the realm. I am your humble host, the Go King. Today, we talk about the Pathfinder Second Edition Remaster project and wildly speculate about Starfinder. So first of all, what is the remaster and why is it happening? Let's answer the why first. The main reason the remaster is happening now, rather than say a few years from now, is because of the OGL situation. If you don't already know, OGL stands for Open Gaming License, and it's a license that was used in WotC's D&D product for decades now? Around the start of the year, they pulled a stunt to damage the OGL and the many creators who rely upon it. Even considering Wizards of the Coast's decision to reaffirm the OGL and expand into the Creative Commons, trust has been broken. As a person hoping to one day make a career in this hobby, and even publish my own books, I can empathize with the anxiety that caused. Imagine being responsible for the livelihood of a whole business, and then having this other company try to destroy the piece of legal architecture that this business relies upon. With the remaster, Paizo can go through and ensure a clean break from all SRD content and from the OGL. The SRD was a document paired with the OGL that defined what all was shareable under the OGL. They are finalizing the divorce, so to speak. This also gives them the chance to publish under the new license they've been a large contributor to. The Open RPG Creative License, or ORC for short, is meant to replace the OGL and be truly irrevocable. So if they're going to take a fine-tooth comb through the game to clear out SRD content, they might as well spruce the game up a little too. They can fully implement errata and take a second look at any problems the system may have. Several classes have been considered undertuned by much of the community. Alchemists struggle with weapon proficiency and can suffer from MAD, multiple attribute dependency depending on the subclass. Oracle, one of my favorite classes thematically, invests a lot into their curse, and can feel under-rewarded for what they get back. The Witch has been criticized as simply being a less potent wizard. All of these classes have been mentioned as targets for revision. For some perspective, both Rogue and Wizard, neither of which was specifically called out, have been confirmed to be gaining more weapon proficiencies. That gives us a baseline for the lower level of changes those three classes may get. A few old systems are being removed. Attributes are being pared down to just the bonus since the score itself wasn't being used in the game. Alignment is also going the way of the dodo, as it is less and less important to the way most people play these games these days. The alignment-based planar outsiders are said to be getting a replacement of sorts for their alignment, and obviously the champion class will need some adjustments. Perhaps with more detailed edicts and anathema? Unfortunately, a number of spells, items, and monsters will be getting renamed, replaced, or removed. When I say removed or replaced, I mean from future content like the remaster books. I guess we could call them legacy. These legacy items, spells, and monsters will still work in the game should you choose to use them. They will also still be available on Archives of Nethys. The content of the remaster books is meant to replace the core rulebook, Game Master Guide, Advanced Player's Guide, and the First Bestiary. The new content will be rebalanced around the Player Core, the Game Master Core, the Monster Core, and Player Core 2. I really hope they choose a different name for the Monster Core. Bestiary is iconic to the Paizo identity, and I don't want to see it go, but if it has to go, I really don't want to see it replaced with Monster Core. But back to the topic, these books are intended to be more equally balanced, rather than having most of the content bound up in one giant rulebook. The core rulebook's nearly 640 pages were a little intimidating for new players, though thankfully this meant the core rulebook could be used as a 1d4 improvised weapon in a pinch. Now the big question, is this a new addition? In short, no, I don't think so. The long answer is that none of the math or main rules are changing. Paizo is calling this a remaster, but the community might decide it's more fair to call it a 2.5. Though I would suggest waiting for the first two remaster books and getting a look at the changes, before the community settles on a verdict. That, for the most part, sums up my current thoughts on the Remaster project. I fully intend to come back to the topic and go over the changes when the first 2 books come out. But what about that other thing I mentioned? Something about Starfinder speculation? Starfinder Enhanced was announced about a month ago when I wrote this script. It's a book updating some of the core classes, starship combat, and some unspecified rules. If this is Starfinder's equivalent to Pathfinder First Edition's Pathfinder Unchained, that might mean work on the early stages of Starfinder Second Edition is beginning soon. Now, if that's true, Starfinder Second Edition would still be years off. But that means now is a good time to start dropping hints as to what we would like to see in such a development. Of course, it would be premature to speak about the areas we already know are getting reworked in the Enhanced book, that being starship combat and the core classes. So we should wait to talk about those till after we get to see what is in Starfinder Enhanced. It seems I will have to make some comprehensive videos when that book drops. In fact, that'll be the perfect excuse for me to update and redo the Starfinder Help Desk videos. With all that being said, what things would I like to see in a Starfinder Second Edition? I feel that the magic in Starfinder was often confusing and a little lackluster. I do understand that reducing the importance of the magic system allowed them to redirect focus onto the sci-fi elements of the game. But why 6 spell levels? Why no distinction between spontaneous and prepared casters? Why not add more sci-fi options to the magic system rather than reduce it as much as they did? Casters couldn't rely on level 0 spells, or cantrips, scaling, and some spells literally stop working at specific levels. Daze has no effect on creatures CR4 or higher. One thing that was interesting, if confusing, was having some spell effects scale off of the caster level. These were minor things like range and duration, but still interesting. I think Starfinder's magic could benefit from some of the rules from Pathfinder Second Edition. That be having multiple action casting options for spells, degrees of success, and of course, traditions. However, I don't think Starfinder should sort spells into the same 4 traditions. I believe Starfinder could benefit from a spell tradition explicitly about mixing tech with magic. This is where most of the Technomancer spells could reside. Instead of removing prepared casters, they could have been modified. My idea is for them to have thematically different sets of spells. During daily preparation, they choose a set, and this would take the place of choosing specific spells for each slot. If that is too much and too complicated, and honestly it very well might be, I have a tendency to overdo things, they could instead have tech-themed mods that could be applied to their spells. They could prepare these mods each day. Mods could change damage type, range, area, duration, or have a list of unique power-ups and boosts. They could even take class feats to gain more mods. I mentioned a few things when talking about spells that are straight out of Pathfinder Second Edition. Chief among them was having multiple casting options for a spell that required different amounts of actions. In this is the implicit assumption that a Starfinder Second Edition would adopt the 3-action economy. I hope so, and if it does, I would love to see that spellcasting mechanic get more light. It is criminally underutilized in Pathfinder Second Edition. Another no-brainer to import would be the Temel proficiency system, trained, expert, master, and legendary. This could unify the difficulty class math in Starfinder. And I don't think I need to stress just how helpful that would be. While we can and have been asking the question, what should a Starfinder Second Edition adopt from Pathfinder Second Edition? And we can answer that with a simple, almost everything. The more interesting question is what shouldn't get adopted. Probably the thing I feel most strongly about is ancestries, heritages, versatile heritages, and ancestry feats. Collectively referred to hereafter as the Ancestry system. I love the Ancestry system. It allows so much variation within the fantasy ancestries of Golarion. However, I believe that the Ancestry system would be bad for Starfinder. One of Starfinder's great strengths is the staggering number of playable species. And not only the pre-written ones from the books, but also the ones our game masters create for their own settings, or adapt from existing settings. The Ancestry system has a much higher barrier to entry and requires much more investment per species. I believe a Starfinder Second Edition species system could include heritages. Something like this has been experimented with for the core species in Starfinder, but ancestry feats should not be included. Instead, I would like to see theme take on more options. Theme is already a more important part of a Starfinder character than background is a part of a Pathfinder character. Theme is not only about the past, but also about a character's future. Allow characters to take hold of that future with theme feats. The last topic I want to mention today is another thing I feel Starfinder should remain unique in. Stamina and resolve are iconic to the Starfinder system and feel. I believe it would be a disservice for healing in Starfinder to become as almost trivial as it is in Pathfinder. Stamina and rolling with the punches just feels like the way industrious space explorers would experience and handle danger. But my writing hand is sore and my pen is running out of ink. Tell me in the comments, what do you think about the Pathfinder Remaster project? Are you excited for it? What would you like to see if Starfinder Second Edition is on the way? Thank you again for visiting the realm. I have been your host, the Goat King, and as always, travel with loyal companions.